Okay, so picture this. You're a soldier, right? Stationed in Burkina Faso. And out of the blue, some guy shows up, tries to bribe you. And not with just like a little side cash.
Yeah.
We're talking a suitcase stuffed with 5 billion CFA francs.
Wow.
I mean, think about it. That's over 8 million US dollars.
That's a serious chunk of change.
Now, you might think this is straight out of a movie script, right?
It's like it.
But guess what? This actually went down.
Really?
For real.
Wow.
We're diving deep into this wild story today. We've got intel reports, first-hand accounts, the whole 9 yards.
Lay it on me.
We're going to piece together how this plot unfolded, who was behind it, and what it means for Burkina Faso and the whole region. What do you think? Big implications.
Absolutely. It really shines a light on the forces at play in this part of the world. I mean, we got to remember, Burkina Faso has been making real strides. They're fighting extremism, boosting their economy.
Right, making progress.
Exactly. And that might be why someone wanted to slam the brakes on all that progress so hard.
Yeah, it does make you wonder if someone was trying to sabotage their success. But let's rewind a bit.
Okay.
To the beginning with this, mysterious figure who just pops up in Ouagadougou, the capital.
Right.
All dressed up like a high roller businessman.
That whole shebang.
Oh, yeah. But instead of closing business deals, he's got this suitcase overflowing with cash.
Oh, so no briefcase this time? Suitcase.
Suitcase. And get this. A whole plan to throw the country into chaos.
Wow. Talk about a wolf in sheep's clothing.
Yeah.
This guy was playing a role, asking his real agenda.
So it seems.
Our sources suggest he was linked to some serious players, foreign operatives. These are powerful entities, the kind who benefit from keeping the region unstable.
Right. Chaos equals profit for some.
Sadly, yes. And when you factor in Burkina Faso's resources, I mean, they've got gold, minerals, not to mention strategic location.
Prime real estate.
It all adds up. Yep. Some folks see it as a prize worth grabbing no matter how dirty they have to play.
So this bribery plot wasn't just about lining pockets, huh?
Not even close. This was about grabbing control, pulling the strings.
But who are these puppet masters? Who are these foreign entities bankrolling this whole scheme?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question. Investigators are digging deep trying to nail down a definitive answer. I bet. It's still early days, but it's looking like a pretty tangled web, stretching way beyond Burkina Faso's borders.
International conspiracy?
Could be. There are whispers about operatives in neighboring countries, a whole network.
Wow.
Unraveling all that, well, it's going to take some time.
Absolutely. A lot of loose ends to tie up.
Yeah.
But while they're tracing the money, let's talk about the target here, the Burkinabe military. Were there any known cracks within the ranks that these foreign players might have been hoping to exploit?
You know, that's where things get really interesting.
Okay.
The assumption was there had to be discontent, right? I mean, soldiers tempted by that kind of money. A suitcase full.
Life-changing money.
Exactly. But the soldiers who got those offers, they did something extraordinary.
What'd they do?
They chose loyalty, put their country above personal gain.
So wait, instead of just pocketing the cash and looking the other way, they reported it.
Reported it to their superiors, yeah.
Wow. That took some serious guts.
Risky move, no question. These soldiers knew the danger. Exposing a plot like that, well.
Retaliation.
Yeah, but their courage gave Burkina Faso's security forces the opening they needed to set a trap.
So a sting operation.
Exactly. And let me tell you, it unfolded like something right out of a spy thriller.
I love a good spy story.
November 8th, 2024. Mark the date.
Yeah.
Our suspect rolls up to this nondescript warehouse just outside Ouagadougou.
With the suitcase.
Oh yeah, suitcase in hand, ready to make the deal.
I can picture it now.
But here's the twist. Hidden cameras, the whole place wired.
Oh, wow.
Elite security forces lying in wait.
Tense moments.
You bet. And then, bam, they spring the trap. Catch 'em red-handed with the whole 5 billion.
What a scene that must have been.
Textbook takedown. A big win for Burkina Faso's security.
But, even with the adrenaline, everyone knew this was just the tip of the iceberg.
The pawn, not the king.
Exactly. They'd snagged the guy delivering the money, but the real players, the ones calling the shots, they were still out there.
Lurking in the shadows.
Exactly. So this brings us to a pretty crucial question. What did this whole bribery attempt reveal about how some folks are trying to manipulate and control countries like Burkina Faso, countries rich in resources?
It exposed a tactic. A dirty one. They're using mercenaries to stir up chaos, destabilize entire nations.
The profit.
Of course. All to benefit these shadowy figures, these foreign entities.
The puppet masters again?
You got it. And these mercenaries, they're ghosts. No allegiance, funded by who knows who, just wreaking havoc. Consequences be damned.
So old habits die hard, right?
Yeah.
Classic neo-colonial playbook.
It's like they're saying, you can have your independence on paper, but don't you dare control your own resources.
Or try to chart your own course. Right. If you step out of line, they'll find a way to bring you down.
Makes you wonder, was this plot, this whole thing, was it a direct response to Burkina Faso trying to take charge?
You know, Burkina Faso has been making moves lately, trying to reclaim their resources, assert some independence.
Sending a message.
Yeah, like, we're not playing by your rules anymore.
And the response was to try to buy off their military.
It was swift. It was brutal. An attempt to punish them for having the audacity to try and break free.
A warning shot.
Exactly. Like, step out of line again, and this is what you can expect.
So how did Burkina Faso react? Did they buckle under the pressure, or did they double down on their push for real independence?
Oh, they did not back down. Not
Yeah.
one bit. Burkina Faso's response, oh, they were anything but passive. They didn't just, hunker down and hope for the best.
So they weren't about to let this whole thing derail their progress.
Not a chance. It's like this whole thing, this attempted bribe, it actually galvanized them, strengthened their resolve.
Yeah. I'm seeing reports about increased security, tighter border controls, more intelligence gathering. Seems like they're hitting this from all angles.
Exactly. They're overhauling their protocols, beefing up security at key locations, really ramping up their intelligence capabilities.
Smart. Anticipate and counter.
Right. It's not just reacting. They're thinking long-term, strategizing. And a big part of that is shoring up those regional alliances.
Yeah, they put out that call for more cooperation among West African nations, right? Recognizing that this threat, it goes beyond just Burkina Faso.
Absolutely. They're actively working with ECOWAS, the Economic Community of West African States. They're key for both the economy and security in the region.
Could you break down ECOWAS a bit for those who might not be familiar?
For sure. ECOWAS is a powerful bloc, 15 West African countries strong. Initially, it was all about boosting economic cooperation, trade, that sort of thing. But these days, they're dealing more and more with security threats, the kind that could destabilize the whole region.
So Burkina Faso is looking to them, to ECOWAS, for support in this fight.
Exactly. And ECOWAS has a solid track record. They've spearheaded peacekeeping missions, launched initiatives to combat terrorism, cross-border crime. They're serious about regional security.
I wonder if this whole incident, this attempted coup in Burkina Faso, if it might actually be a catalyst for even more cooperation within ECOWAS.
I think it could be. This really highlighted the vulnerabilities that everyone's facing. It's a wake-up call for collective action.
And it's not just the usual suspects, right? Burkina Faso is also reaching out to China, Russia, branching out a bit.
That's an interesting development for sure. Shows they're keeping their options open, looking for support from anyone who's aligned with their goals. Stability, development.
It's a bold move. They're not afraid to shake things up, forge their own path. Burkina Faso is really in the spotlight now.
No doubt about it. In a way, this whole ordeal has kind of put them on the map. Suddenly they're a symbol of resistance against neocolonialism.
And that's huge. Historically, smaller nations, they haven't always had the leverage to push back against these global power players.
That's right. Burkina Faso is showing the world it can be done. They're setting an example for other countries who are tired of being exploited, looking to break free.
So the big question, right? Could this spark a wave of similar movements across the continent? Will others follow their lead?
That's the billion-dollar question. And I'm sure there are some very powerful people out there who are hoping the answer is no.
Yeah, if Burkina Faso pulls this off, succeeds in asserting their independence, charting their own course well,
it could embolden a whole lot of others to do the same.
Imagine more and more African nations putting their own interests first, demanding fair deals for their resources, resisting manipulation.
Game changer. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. We have to be realistic. Burkina Faso still faces some serious challenges. Poverty, corruption, internal divisions. Those don't just vanish overnight.
No, they're deeply entrenched.
Exactly. It's going to be a long road, and there will be bumps along the way. Plus, we can't forget about the external pressures.
Right. Those neo-colonial forces, they aren't just going to go away quietly.
No. They'll likely try to throw a wrench in the works, maybe hit them with economic sanctions, political meddling, even back opposition groups.
It's like a David and Goliath situation?
In a sense, yeah. But remember, David had his sling. Burkina Faso has its own strengths.
Such as? What makes you think they can pull this off?
Well, for starters, they have a resilient population. They've weathered a lot of storms, and there's this growing sense of national unity. And the leadership, Well, they seem genuinely committed to charting a new course.
That spirit of defiance we were talking about.
Exactly. And maybe most importantly, they have the truth on their side. This whole foiled coup attempt, it exposed the tactics being used against them. And that kind of exposure, that can be a powerful weapon.
It's like shining a spotlight on a dirty little secret, forcing people to acknowledge it, deal with it.
Precisely. That's why this story has resonated so widely, not just in Africa, but globally. People are seeing the strings, the neo-colonial strings, and they're starting to ask some tough questions.
So this brings up a really important point. What can we do, those of us outside Burkina Faso, to support their efforts?
That's a great question. First and foremost, we need to educate ourselves. We need to understand the history, the ongoing fight for economic justice, how these powerful nations exert their influence. It's all connected.
It's about seeing the bigger picture, recognizing that these seemingly isolated events, they're all part of a larger system.
Exactly. And once we grasp that, we can start taking action. Support organizations working in Burkina Faso. Advocate for fair trade policies. Raise awareness. Hold our own governments accountable.
We're not just bystanders in this. We have a role to play in building a more just world.
Absolutely. Every little bit helps. Every action adds to the momentum for change.
Speaking of change, I'd love to get your take on the potential long-term impact. Could this be a turning point, not just for Burkina Faso, but for the region as a whole?
It has the potential, yes, but it's going to require sustained effort from Burkina Faso itself and from the international community.
What does that look like, this sustained effort from the international community?
Well, it means going beyond just words of support. It means taking action, backing them up with concrete steps that support their development goals, pushing for fairer trade deals, providing assistance that actually addresses their needs, and really challenging those policies that just perpetuate the neo-colonial cycle.
So you're talking about a fundamental shift in how we engage with countries like Burkina Faso.
Exactly. It's time to move past this old donor-recipient dynamic and embrace a more balanced partnership, one based on mutual respect, shared goals, and real, genuine partnership.
That's a powerful vision, but it's also a tough sell. There are a lot of powerful interests who benefit from the status quo.
Resistance is inevitable, but change, real change, it rarely comes easy. It takes courage, it takes commitment, it takes a willingness to challenge the way things have always been done. And that's exactly what we're seeing in Burkina Faso.
Their response, their resilience, it's truly inspiring. They've shown the world that they're not going to be pushed around. They're determined to forge their own path.
It's a story that gives me hope, not just for Burkina Faso, but for anyone who believes in a more just and equitable world.
All right, we're back for the final part of our deep dive into this attempted coup in Burkina Faso. We've really gone through it all, haven't we? The plot, the players, the regional dynamics.
We've covered a lot of ground.
We have, but now I want to look ahead. What does the future hold for Burkina Faso after all of this?
Yeah.
Is this a real turning point for them, something that could fundamentally reshape the country?
I think it has the potential to be a catalyst for some serious change.
Okay.
But it's not a given, right? There are a lot of different paths Burkina Faso could take from here.
Right. Many different paths.
And the choices they make, well, they're going to be crucial.
So let's explore those paths. What are some of the scenarios that could play out?
Well, one possibility is that they use this to their advantage.
Okay.
I mean, they've got the world's attention now, right?
They do.
And there's a lot of international support. They could really capitalize on that momentum.
So use this crisis as an opportunity, sort of like turn lemons into lemonade.
Exactly. Attract investment, build new partnerships, solidify their position in the region. They could focus on building up key sectors.
What kind of sectors?
Renewable energy, sustainable agriculture, tech. Create a more diverse, resilient economy.
Makes sense. Diversify so they're not so reliant on just one thing.
Right. And they can't forget about good governance. Strengthen those democratic institutions, tackle corruption, really lay the groundwork for a stronger future.
So that's the optimistic scenario. Burkina Faso comes out of this stronger, more prosperous, truly independent.
It's definitely a possibility, but it's going to take work, smart planning, strategic decisions, and a real, genuine commitment to reform.
And there will be roadblocks along the way, right?
Oh, for sure. Challenges are inevitable.
Like what? What kind of things could trip them up?
One big one is managing expectations. This incident has created a lot of buzz, a lot of hope, excitement.
People are rooting for them.
Exactly. But change takes time.
It's not a quick fix.
No. And there are going to be setbacks along the way.
So they need to keep their eyes on the prize, not get discouraged if things don't happen overnight.
Yeah, maintaining that momentum, that's going to be critical. And then there's the whole geopolitical landscape.
You're right. Navigating that minefield.
Powerful forces out there might try to sabotage their efforts.
We talked about that, the economic pressure, the political interference.
Yeah, all of that.
Yeah.
So Burkina Faso has to be smart about how they play the game. Build those alliances, diversify their partnerships, but also stand their ground.
It's a tough balancing act.
It is. They're walking a tightrope.
Mm-hmm.
But they've already shown they've got the guts and the determination.
They have. It makes you wonder, though, what does this whole experience tell us about neocolonialism in Africa?
Yeah.
Is it still as prevalent as it used to be, or is this a sign that things are starting to change?
That's the question, isn't it? On one hand, you see this incident, and it's a clear reminder that neocolonialism is alive and well. Powerful forces are still pulling the strings, manipulating things to keep their grip on resources and influence.
So it's not a relic of the past, just something in history books?
Not at all. It's still very much a reality. But then you see Burkina Faso's response.
That defiance.
Yeah. And the way people around the world have rallied behind them.
Like they've struck a nerve.
They have.
Yeah.
And it makes you wonder if maybe, just maybe, the tide is turning.
People are waking up seeing these neocolonial dynamics for what they are.
Right. And they're demanding something different. They want a fair deal for Africa.
Not just handouts, but genuine partnership.
Exactly. Mutual respect, shared prosperity.
So maybe Burkina Faso is leading the way, showing the world that a new era is possible.
It's a possibility, that's for sure. But it's going to be a long road, and there will be obstacles. The choices Burkina Faso makes and the choices other African nations make, they're going to shape the future.
This deep dive, it started with a suitcase full of cash.
It did.
But it's really taken us on a journey to the heart of this global struggle for power and resources. We've talked about geopolitics, exposed some pretty shady tactics, and we've witnessed firsthand the courage of a nation that's determined to take control of its own destiny.
It's been a fascinating discussion.
It has. But at the end of the day, this story goes beyond just one country. It's about the ongoing fight for genuine independence, the fight for a more just and equitable world. And above all, it's about the power of hope, the belief that even in the face of incredible challenges, change is possible.